Governor George Pataki here in the studio with us, and we're talking about No American Debt. That's the name of the organization. And are you basically touting the results of the bipartisan commission, and that is the focus?
No. The bipartisan commission, I think, is a wonderful place to start. And I think it's important because you played earlier the quote from Senator Culver about Republicans are awful and don't do anything. There are many Republican plans out there. The president's own bipartisan commission has a very good plan. Not perfect. Some of the revenue things I don't like, but in general, the $3 trillion in cuts are an excellent starting point. But we can go far beyond that. And we can, as I was saying earlier, Senator Coburn has a $9 trillion plan. There are multiple solutions here to reducing the size of the federal government, reducing the borrowing this country has to do in a way where we can actually lower taxes and empower the private sector to create jobs.
Senator McConnell, I think the other day, said basically we won't be able to advance any of these causes until we replace that president, the current president.
Well, I hope he's not right. He might be. This president has been just far more political. He puts his political interest ahead of the interest of the American people, and that is wrong. But I don't think we should just give up and wait to 2013. I think we have to fight every day to try to get this president and Congress to take action today.
Should they increase the debt ceiling?
I don't think they should do it without at least significant trillion-dollar-plus cuts. And I think they're there. I mean, as I was saying, the president's bipartisan commission has $3 trillion in just pure cuts.
But if we have $14 trillion in debt, $1 trillion and one versus 14, is that a significant cut?
It's a beginning. It's not enough, but it doesn't in any way mean we have to stop the fight. We have to continue the fight every single day. But if we could get $3 trillion in cuts tomorrow, I think that'd be a pretty good start. Then we fight for another 3 the next day.
Folks, my in-studio guest, Governor George Pataki, and he thinks that we have the character to pull ourselves out of this crisis, this money and debt crisis that we've permitted the political class to dig us into. And do you agree with him? Disagree? How would you like to add to this conversation? This is Greg. Good morning, Greg.
Yes, thank you, Governor, for being in Iowa. I just have a couple of questions. One, would you set up the Department of Education, Department of Energy as an actual means to downsize the federal government?
Well, first of all, Greg, when I was governor of New York, I abolished the New York State Department of Energy. But that was part of reducing the New York State workforce by over 15% while I was governor. Energy is at the federal level is far more complex, and I think it's one of the many failings of the Obama administration. Today, we will send this year almost $500 billion overseas for foreign oil, mostly to places like Hugo Chavez's Venezuela or Ahmadinejad's Iran. And you wake up in the morning, and one of the problems we have for the American family, the working families in America, is you wake up in the morning, you don't know if you're going to be paying $3 a gallon to fill up your tank or $4 a gallon, and it depends on if Hugo Chavez woke up on the wrong side of the bed or not. So we need an intelligent policy, and to me, it's pretty simple. We should be accessing American energy resources. We have oil, we have gas, we have coal, and yet this administration has essentially shut it down. So we should be producing enough energy here where we're actually exporting energy to other countries, and it would help our economy, it would help our balance of payments, and it would help on the revenue side as well. But this president is just blocking it terribly. That's a long answer, but I would not abolish the Department of Energy. I would reduce overall the federal workforce by at least 15%, and I assure you a chunk of that would come from all the different departments.
Hey, thank you, Greg. This is Jerry. Good morning, Jerry.
Yeah, good morning. Welcome to the state of Iowa, Governor.
Hello, Jerry. It's great to be back here. It's actually cooler today here than it is in New York.
Yeah, you should have been here a couple of days ago.
I was here yesterday. It was hotter here.
Yeah. Hey, Governor, one of the points you didn't bring up was about the illegal aliens we have in this country. Now, before I get going here, here's my opinion. We got between 15 and 20 million illegal aliens here that have been here for generations, correct?
Well, not necessarily generations, but we have a great many, beyond 10 million illegal immigrants in this country.
Right, and out of that 10 million who send half of their money back home, if we give them $10,365, that's one paycheck for the average Iowan, as you said before. If give them that in a year, Governor, and they send half of that back at 10 to 20 million times that in a year, exactly how much money are we losing? And before we get to that, we still got their educating their children.
Right.
We still have them breaking our law in the beginning, and not one person has said anything in this whole debt crisis about how much money that's costing the individual taxpayer, let alone as a group and a country.
Excellent points.
Well, Jerry, you're absolutely right. And I think the point you made about anybody who entered this country illegally started off, their first act in the United States was by breaking the law. And we are a country based on the rule of law. And when we do not know who is coming into this country, it is very hard to provide for our security, to protect us economically, or to have confidence in the rule of law when so many people just break it.
Right.
So in my view, very simply, the first priority when it comes to immigration this country has to have is doing everything in our power to secure our borders. They talk about a path to citizenship or legalization. That shouldn't happen. We shouldn't even consider citizenship, and we shouldn't even have a path to legalization until we know that our borders are secure. And you talk about the economic consequences and the crime consequences, and they're very real, particularly on local governments where they get a disproportionate burden on schools or the healthcare system. But I also worry about who's coming across that border. We know we have drugs and drug dealers coming across those borders, and I just pray
and
we don't
arming them.
And arming them. And that's exactly right. Our own inept policies giving them arms.
But they're really good quality American-made arms.
Yeah,
so
isn't that
at least it's not that
encouraging?
inferior Chinese stuff that they used to use.
It is dreadful, and in a sense, it's almost humorous until you think of our border guard who was murdered with our own weapon, and then you realize that the tragic consequences of this. And what scares me is that we've done a good job in the airports and to a large extent preventing those who we fear might engage in terrorist activities into coming into this country. But we know that there are still those who have the types who have attacked us in the past who want to attack us again. And until we have complete control of our borders, I fear not just the drug dealers, obviously it's wrong, and criminals, and the economic consequences and social consequences of illegal immigration. I also fear the potential for some very bad actors who detest our freedoms getting across these borders. So clearly it has to be the top priority from the immigration standpoint of America.
You mentioned that rule of law is what we need and in order to deal with all this stuff. But what happens if the political class, if the president and the Congress and even the judges don't follow the law? They just feel free to make it up as they go. They don't live within the constitutional requirements, and they just and they've expanded. We have illegal currency, illegal military actions. We have illegal enforcement of federal mandates, and the place is a mess. Most of which is unconstitutional.
Well, as frustrating as it is, I still believe we have a good legal system in the United States. We have a good judiciary system in the United States. It's imperfect. I do not believe in judicial activism. We were talking off the mic a while ago about how the founding fathers made it plain that the judiciary was supposed to be the least dangerous branch because they couldn't legislate and they couldn't spend money. We have seen far too many judges who have changed and gone beyond that, and that is wrong. But we still have to have faith in our Constitution, in our system. We are a government of laws, but we're also governed by people, and people are fallible, and we just have to, as a people, be able and willing to take the action necessary to hold those in office accountable so that they do what is appropriate under the law.
So therefore, by implication, we haven't been doing a very good job of that.
Well, I think we've had far too many courts that have gone too far. And look at Washington. It is a mess. I gave a talk earlier this morning, and one of the great things about America is we're an optimistic nation. We've always believed tomorrow's going to be better. And now you're hearing doubts, real doubts, by people about if our children are going to have the opportunities we do. It's not a failing of our country. It's not a failing of our society. It's not that we don't have a great work ethic and entrepreneurs. It's a failure of government in Washington. A failure of them to control their appetites, to control their political desires, and a failure of those leaders from the president on down in Washington to understand that politicians are supposed to serve the people and not tell us what to do. And the less money they take out of our pockets, the stronger and better we will be as a country. So we have to reclaim that. It's not a failing of the system. It's a failing of the people in the system, and we have to change them.
My in-studio guest is Governor George Pataki. We have one last time out, and we'll go to the top of the hour. We'll go right back to our phone lines, after which at the other side of the top of the hour we'll have some open line time, and I know you'll have lots to say on 1040 WHO Radio.